covers the costs and how to calculate your rate of return if you want to go that far into understanding whether it's good economically or not. But what we plan to do tonight is do a little more about all the paperwork problems, although we covered it pretty well last night, but you'll hit the second part when you finish the system and you're ready to turn it on. There's still more paperwork at that stage. We'll review a little bit about the racking, and Blair and Bill have already set up one rail so you can see how it looks after what we talked about last night but didn't demonstrate. And you'll go install the second rail is the plan. So tonight will be a little more hands-on. We'll probably say, come on up and see it face to face and hold it and touch it, things like that. It was a little harder last night with the crowd, as usual. We'll cover the inverter installation, the panel installation, what you have to do to file the last paperwork to get it to be able to turn it on, turning it on, and then also we'll briefly talk about what it takes to keep it in good shape. The good news is with a solar PV system, there's no moving parts, so things don't break easily. But you don't want your insulation to get rubbing on the roof or anything, so it rubs through. And it's a good thing to check that every year or two. And cleaning, that's about it. So it's really easy. Any questions before we start the details tonight? Yes? So the question is about snow removal. And this is really optional. If your angle is steep, 30 degrees or more, you're probably not going to bother, because just a little bit of sun on the black surface, and as soon as that happens, it'll start falling off. My system is steeper than that. It's about 42 degrees. And I've had a week or two with it covered in snow, particularly when it was really ice instead of snow. But most of the time, it's just not worth it for me to go up and rake it off. But if people want to and want to maximize your production, you certainly can do that with a sponge type rake or a rubber mat like most of the snow rakes are. Yeah, squeegee would work too. Any other questions? All right, Blair, you're going to come up and run through. And we got some more videos as well tonight for other parts. But we've also got the hands-on.
All right, thanks for everyone coming back. Good to see everyone again. I also want to take this time to thank Jack and Steve and Jocelyn and everyone that put this production on. They go through a lot of effort, a lot of energy is spent just to bring this up to you. And I know it's not the most professional display of things, but we try to do our best with the time we've been given, and as busy as we are, because right now is really our busy season. But me and my brother Bill back there, I don't think I introduced him last night. He's the handsome looking fella in the purple shirt. And like I said, family owned business for about 30 years, over 30 years, and we slowly transitioned into the renewable energy side of things. And that's nice because my father, being the old man that he is, still knows all about the steam systems and the ancient dinosaurs that sit in people's basements that, you know, we look at sometimes and we're just like, I don't know, that's like 3 times as old as I am, so I don't know what I'm looking at. He can still answer those questions, and he's better at helping the transition as far as the building phases, how things have gone on from the 70s on until now. So, but now Billy and I are taking it to the renewable side of things and more energy efficiencies and things like that. So, if we could actually review just a little bit of the paperwork. We talked about the application process last night. Part 1, interconnecting with the utility company. If you just look at my folder. I just want to show you what the interconnection paperwork looks like from PPL. This again is, you know, the process is you want to measure your roof, which if you've done the homework, you've brought your roof sketches. You might say, well, why are we going to go through every one sketch? No. What we're gonna do is just to basically get you a little bit proactive in looking at your roof, thinking about how you're gonna lay it out, thinking about if you wanna run your rails vertical or horizontal. Again, we prefer horizontal just because when you put these rails on horizontal, especially if you have a tall roof or a steep roof, this first rail is the rail you're gonna work off. But once you get that first rail established, if it's really steep or even a metal roof, which tends to be a lot more slick, you can use that as a ladder, and then you can build and build and build, and then start with your panels on the top and work them down. Here is just what your rails are going to look like. Here's your flash foot attachment. Again, figure shingles over this upper part, but we just have bolts. Just to review again from last night, we've got our stainless steel lags. These are 3 inches long. There's the flat washer on top, comes through, and then there's a flat washer with a rubber grommet to it. This comes with the rubber grommet washer, comes with the actual flash foot attachment. Goes in just like that. And then with your pre-drilled hole, that's how it goes together. Very simple, very straightforward. These things come with directions on them, so it's not like you have to remember it. All this stuff is online. It's great to, for us, one of the first things we like to try to remember to ask for when we go to a customer's house is, what's your Wi-Fi password? So in case we have any type of questions with anything, anything might come up, and we could always just quick get online and look at any of these spec sheets, and if you have any questions, it's great. They have, every manufacturer has a installation guide, and most of the time it's a do-it-yourself YouTube video you can find also. So don't be afraid to use those resources, because we use those resources sometimes too.
And also, I'm videotaping last night and tonight. It's dark in places, but if later on you ever want to review it, it'll be on our website probably within the week.
Do different manufacturers have different rails and feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Different manufacturers, different rails, they're all pretty much the same. This is, I would pretty much guarantee this is the kind of racking you're going to get, whether it's this kind of inverter or an N-phase inverter or SMA inverter, all pretty much the same, but it might just look a little different. What we're going to be trying to do is look for cost on these things. But this is what your inverter would look like, typical single inverter. Again, it mounts right to the rail, and then your panel comes on top of it. And back here we brought two Hyundai 255 watt panels. So we'll actually get that up and take a look at that. Yeah.
No, that's my problem.
And then also here is your trunk cable. This is the line we were talking about before. This is what your inverters plug into. So you have your rail set up, your inverter mounts to your rail, and then your inverter, you notice, has 3 different leads to it. There's these 2 little leads. These go to the panel. You can't screw these up because they're, there's a positive and negative. One's male, one's female. Can't mess that up. And then this is the one that actually clicks into the trunk cable. So you'll have this wire tied up with black UV resistant wire ties. You get them at Home Depot or any electrical shop. This will mount here, and then when you mount your panel, you just plug the panel in, and then take this, break this little zip tie, and plug it into your trunk cable. Very, very simple, very straightforward, but again, you can't interchange any of the equipment and short circuit anything. Yes.
What's the disadvantage of using one inverter? In other words, you said you could use like one inverter for 10 panels or something.
That's it. You do what's called a string inverter. That's like an inverter, say, twice the size of this box. You could do that if you want to wire your house, but that's not the application we're going to be doing, just because it's a lot more code issues with DC wiring, positive and negatives, and efficient, and this is a lot more easier as far as a do-it-yourself project. This is as simple as we can make it, and as straightforward as we can make it without getting you in trouble with running DC inside your house.
So that's one inverter per panel?
One inverter per panel. Yep.
These are microinverters, is what people want to know.
If you did do that, how many inverters would you use for how many panels? If you did.
It's a wholly complex sizing
Different.
problem. That's,
Got it.
we can't teach that here.
Alright.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
What is the wind rating on these panels? You get a storm, 40, 50 mile an hour winds, is it going to be in the next county?
The wind rating is usually about 120 miles per hour, somewhere in there.
Code in this state is actually 90. So you don't, almost all the manufacturers will give you 120 as their engineering report, because many states are 120, but here it's only 90.
So this is your interconnection application agreement part one.
For PPL.
Yeah, for PPL. I think I'm pretty sure it's standard for across the entire state of
Can I just turn
Pennsylvania.
off the front lights?
Yeah, sure. I think that's pretty much standard across the state of Pennsylvania. If you're a PPL customer, just Google PPL customer interconnection agreement. That's all you have to do. We actually have that on the slide coming up, but all you see here is your name, address, all this stuff for the customer, alternate contact information. You can fill it out again if you want, or just put same. And then as you come down here, you see facility address. If it's on your home, that's going to be the same address you just put in before. City, state, nearest crossing street. Remember we talked last night about that bird's eye view, that site plan, where you want to, just draw a sketch of your house, where the panels are going, where your meter is, where the closest utility pole is, all that stuff. You want to include the nearest crossing street on that also. So you write down what the nearest crossing street is. Electrical distribution company, these are, if you get this offline, it's just a drop-down menu. You put PG&L utilities, there's Penelec, there's a whole bunch of different options. Your account number, your meter number. The account number should be on your electrical bill. Same thing with your meter number. If not, your meter number is outside on your meter. Current annual energy consumption, that'll be on your electrical bill. Estimated in-service date, roughly what time you plan on actually hoping to turn your system on. Doesn't have to be exact. Application fee enclosed, which is no, because PPL doesn't require one. Current annual energy consumption, where is that one? Inverter type, grid connected, no batteries. There, again, drop-down menu, you'll have options. You'll say, okay, grid interactive, no batteries, and then you realize grid interactive with batteries. You're just a grid tie, grid interactive without batteries. And these are for those of you that actually go ahead and go forward with this. If you do have any questions, I know again this is going a little bit fast, but if you do have any questions, feel free to give me a call. One of us can give you an answer on whatever you might have issues with. But you'll go through here, the manufacturer, model number, inverter rating, ampere rating, voltage rating, DC source rating, frequency, power factor. Where do I get all this information from? You don't have to figure out that and jump to the end phase one. That's on the data sheet. Remember last night we said, when you send into the utility company, you're going to want this application filled out. You're going to want a copy of the inverter specifications, which is the data sheet that looks like this. There's 2 pages. And on the second page, it has all the information you need to fill in. You might have to do a little bit of addition. If you have 12 panels, you might need to multiply 12 times the 0.9 amps to give the overall amperage. But that's just what a technical data sheet looks like. And they only ask for certain things on it. And then if you want to bump back to the interconnection, yeah. And then as you scroll down, that's page 1, and then it just has equipment installation contractor, which would be you. And just keep going down and down. This is all, then you sign it right there, you print your name and send it in, and then this is when they approve it and send it back to you. And then the next 6 pages are just what you're actually agreeing to. It's not like, you go to a contract to build a house and then at the last minute you want to change something and add 2 windows on the second floor. there's no changing this contract, it's just the standard Pennsylvania interconnection agreement. And then as you scroll all the way down to page 8, or yeah, page 5, this is, if you notice, part 2, it says right at the top. Interconnection application agreement part 2. So you go ahead and fill everything out again, and this is what you send in after you've installed everything. Once you've installed it, the inspector is there. You want to roll down one more page? You have this thing all filled out, and then right here is the electrical inspector. You sign it again, the electrical inspector signs it, and you send this away in with the cutting card, which, you know, a cutting card. What is that? That's a piece of paper that's sitting right next to this on the PP&L's dashboard. You know, you're on the customer interconnection agreement website page, and it has all these documents listed there. Cutting card, and the cutting card is just a typical piece of paper that the electrical inspector knows what that is and knows how to fill that out. So you don't have to worry about that. He might ask you what size your system is and whatnot, but that's up to him. So you take both of those documents at the second part of it, once everything's been installed, and then you email that in to the utility company. Customer interconnection agreement, if you Google that for whatever utility company you're dealing with, that'll walk you through these steps also. So it's not, if you miss something, it's not overly critical that you get it from me tonight, because they have the process there, and you can always call them too. And then
Some of the steps after you fill out part 1, they may come out and replace your meter. Make sure it's a meter that is one that is capable of doing the backwards calculations, especially these digital meters. In my case, they did come out and replace my meter beforehand, but that was 3 years ago. They might have dumped in the cycle where most people have modern meters and already configured.
yeah, we've been finding that pretty much every one of our customers have been getting their meters changed out. So as far as a timeline, like everyone usually wants to know, how long is this going to take? What's the time frame? We know maybe about 2 weeks before you actually get your material in, but before we actually order your material, how long does PP&L take? They could take 3 days, they could take 3 weeks. It depends on what they feel like doing or not doing. So, you know, your application with the community, with your township, and then with these guys, is this, again, 3 to 3 weeks, 3 days to 3 weeks, and then whatever the permit is, usually that's about a week. It might even be that same day. You can go in and meet the inspector. You got to call your township, see if you need a permit, and then you might need to be able to actually go in and meet the code enforcement officer all in one day and get your permit for this. But as far as time frame, usually the paperwork process is the longest part of everything. The paperwork process, you take forever. You know, a month or maybe 2 months by the time you do the permit and the paperwork with PP&L, and then you get to do your installation, which might take a day, 2 days, 3 days, depending on how big it is. So, are there any questions on that?